views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
All right, we are here for the Bronx Buzz. It is our weekly Thursday get-together where we talk with Bronx reporters. Usually it's a Bronx roundtable. We still have the table today, but we're really breaking format because we have somebody real special here with you. We're going to spend the time with Dominic Carter. Many people in New York City know him from New York One, but he is now on Verizon Fios TV. He's going to tell us more about it. Dominic, it's really great to have you with us.
Gary, brother, it's nice to be here with you. You do great work in the Bronx, and thank you for what you do for our borough. I'm comfortable right now because the Bronx is my home, and I'm home right now.
That's what I said to you when you sat down. I said, well, welcome back home. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. We're going to learn about Dominic's life in the Bronx, some of the things that he's done in news. We've been chatting about all kinds of things. We're probably going to need 3 hours to get it done, but we'll get it done somehow. Let's talk about the BX. And you said you lived in several neighborhoods in the Bronx?
Oh, man. I can go on and on. But home is home. As a political reporter, Gary, and you know well about this, I've had the opportunity, never thought it would happen for a kid growing up out of the projects in the Bronx, on welfare, receiving food stamps, no father ever in my life. I never thought that I would travel the world, literally, as a journalist. And so I've been to Somalia, Israel, Japan, the Persian Gulf. It started for me in the projects in the South Bronx, the Patterson housing projects across from Lincoln Hospital, 143rd and Morris Avenue. I've had family that's also lived in the BronxNet houses, 2805 Dewey Avenue.
Not that he remembers the address.
No, because these are milestones in my life. I could go on, because there's no place like home. I've been covering the presidential campaigns. I've been all over the country. But trust me when I tell you, you almost want to kiss the ground when you arrive in the Bronx,
when you get
it's home.
To the Hutch Metro Center. One of the things, and I've told the viewers about this beforehand, that I love about the show is what we do before we go on the air. So I get to talk with journalists about their background and everything else. You started to talk to me about, prior to New York One, you were one of the first black journalists, black political journalists. Talk to me about that, in a way, breaking a barrier. And did that provide challenges, or was it kind of smooth sailing to the career you have?
Well, it's interesting that you bring it up, Gary. When I started, you know, these kids today, when I say these kids.
They're all around us here in the studio.
When I say these kids, I'm referring to young adults that are coming up in our shadows, because sooner or later, you and I are going to be put out the pasture. And by the way, your son Evan is doing a great job as a political reporter, doing political reports down in Tampa.
That's where
and, you know, it's only a matter of time till he's going to be in New York. So look out for that young man. And also, I'm very fortunate as far as my daughter, Courtney Carter. She starts next week at News 12 The Bronx on air reporting. So we'll take it. And so when I started out, Gary, I didn't want to see. You have to take out the news channels that we have today, because when you and I, we didn't have that. Yeah. We didn't have Twitter and Facebook and cell phones and all of that stuff. You know, mandatory requirements of today. When I started, I didn't want to cover politics. I started at WBLS and WLIB radio. The reason why I recommend, I was doing news. Thank you for the clarification. The reason why I recommend everyone that's watching us right now do an internship, because I didn't have any way to get in. All I had was hard work on my side. And I did a unpaid internship where I had to be downtown 42nd Street, 2nd Avenue, where the radio station was located. I had to be there at 4 a.m. in the morning and often didn't leave until 6 p.m. But here's the great news that came out of it. I was in graduate school up at Syracuse University, working on my master's in journalism, and I got the phone call. They fell in love with my work as an intern, and they said, we want to hire you as a reporter.
This was the New York One or the radio?
This is WBLS and
Right.
WLIB.
Right, sure.
The news director told me right to my face, if it doesn't work out, we're going to let you go immediately.
Wow.
So I was 3 months away from graduating with my master's or taking the job. I decided to take the gamble, and I haven't looked and take the job.
Did you end up getting your master's? Am I allowed to ask that?
You can ask that question. I am now still 3 credits away.
Oh my goodness!
And so
we just broke some news here on the Bronx Break.
And so, but I never looked back. And so I was in radio for 6.5 years, and then the folks that started New York One, they noticed my work and pulled me along to New York.
You know, and I have to just, I hadn't thought of this, but I guess part of that you owe to the fact that we had a reasonably healthy black media. We had BLS and LIB, which was black media in New York. Maybe radio less popular now than it was, but that was really kind of a flagship. So you are fortunate. There's always somebody paving the way for people
And
to
see,
do that.
that's why
Ken
I'm
Webb
glad.
and all those people.
That's why I'm glad that you're doing the show, and you're the reason why I'm here right now, because you know the history of what's actually happened.
Yeah.
You are 1,000% correct, Gary.
And
Back
that
then,
paved the way for
That's
you to do
right. That's right. It paved the way. There was a black media in New York. Unfortunately, it's gone. And I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm just trying to lay it out there.
This is what it is.
It is what it is.
Right.
So you had BLS, LIB, the City Sun, the Amsterdam News, which is still around. You had a full medium of black media, but that's now all gone. So that's how I got my opportunity. But you asked, what was it like, your original question,
Yes.
what was it like down at City Hall? It was tough, because one of the places I've traveled to has been Cape Town, South Africa. And here in New York City, we're in the Bronx right now, but maybe 10 miles from here? Oftentimes when I would walk into the Blue Room at City Hall, I would be the only black in the entire room.
And we were talking about it, again, before the show. I wish you could join us before the show. We're talking about before the show that people involved today don't realize what they see today wasn't always the case.
That's right. That's right.
Just looking back at the New York One years, and you know, there's also issues that we want to get to. We want to talk about the police and the shootings, and certainly the politics, which is really his expertise. But looking back at the New York One years, is there one or two things that you did or that you covered? And I know when you're on every night, there's a million of them, but something that stands out and said, you know what, I was really proud of that.
Well, I guess some of my work from New York One is still written about today, Gary, as it relates to the presidential campaign. It was at New York One, when I started covering Donald Trump.
Oh.
It was at New York One when I started covering Hillary Clinton. And so I would interview each of them live on television. And Trump and I established a relationship.
Wow.
Where one day I got a phone call from Trump. And you know how sometimes you're having a bad day and you really don't want to be bothered, but you got to take the phone call. Mr. Carter, this is Mr. Trump's secretary. Mr. Trump wants to speak to you. So
and this is way back in the
this is about
the
maybe
90s?
this is about 7 years ago.
Okay.
And 7, 8 years, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
He gets on the phone. Hey, Dominic. I'm like, what's up, Mr. Trump? He goes, I want to send you a copy of my book. I'm like, whatever. You know, I got my own book.
Yeah, right.
And as you know,
by
Gary,
the way, it's called No Mama's Boy.
No
You should
Mama's
check it
Boy.
out. There's a lot in there that
it's a
relates
lot
to
about
a lot
growing
of
up
people.
in the Bronx. It's about mental illness. My mom suffered as a chronic paranoid schizophrenic. It's about the issue of child abuse. It's about growing up poor in the Bronx, New York. Yeah. But the Bronx is home. So to
Back
finish
to
the Trump
yeah.
story, Trump said he wants to send me a copy of his book. I'm like, whatever. He sends me the book, and I almost put it to the side, and something said to me, open the book. And if you pick up his book, Think Like a Champion, the book starts with me.
With you?
With me.
Wow.
And he says in the book how much respect he has for me and that he thinks I'm going national. This is what he says in the book. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. And anyone watching us on television right now, a kid that grew up on welfare, in the projects, in this borough, someone who attended 5 high schools in 4 years, started out at Cardinal Hayes, DeWitt Clinton, John F. Kennedy, moved out to Seattle, Washington, came back, graduated from Theodore Roosevelt, think about this for a second. A kid like that, and Donald Trump is writing his book starting with that kid. And so it was a milestone.
That's pretty unbelievable.
It was a milestone in my life. So I never thought in a million years that we would have a campaign as we have right now, where it's basically two New Yorkers, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And you mentioned my New York One days. I got to know both of them very well. So there are many things I did at New York One that I could talk about all night
Let's
long.
bring it up to date so people know what you're doing, they know where to find you. What do you do right now? You're at Verizon Fios.
I'm at Verizon Fios, and one other thing, I think you were going to show a clip at some
We are,
point.
right after this, I'm going to show that clip.
Of when Caroline Kennedy called me. This is when she was going to talk about, she was considering running for Senate of New York, and she said she wanted to do a live interview with me. And so we can talk about that. But what I do at Verizon Fios, I cover politics. I do what I do. I started out hating politics. And Gary, the reason why I hated politics is because I felt that half the country doesn't vote. That means I'm losing half the audience going in. But I want people to understand, you must pay attention to politics. You must vote. Every day I'm asked by someone around the country, what can you do to help us? And the answer always is basically the same. Are you registered to vote? No. Well, that's all politicians relate to.
What else can I do to help you?
That's right. That's right. So you got to register and vote. And people watching us right now, Gary, as you talk about week after week after week after week, everything that we do is political in nature. The amount of times that your garbage is picked up is political in nature. Your housing project, the politics of the housing is political in nature.
Neither you nor I said it first, but all politics is local. And if you
Yes.
want those things to happen...
Thank you.
That's okay, so we have this clip that my wonderful producer, Jayla Juberis, came up with. Should you introduce it, or we just let her...
No,
I don't even know what it is.
I'm discussing Caroline Kennedy
On Face the Nation.
on Face the Nation with the legendary Bob Schieffer.
There we go. All right, let her rip.
And with us now, Dominic Carter, who is the political anchor of New York One News. And Dominic, I want to say, when we started calling around in New York City last week to find out who would have their finger on this story, you were the person who was most often mentioned, and that's why we asked you to be with us this morning. So what do you hear? What do you know? How is this thing going to come out?
Well, first of all, good morning, Bob, and thank you for that comment. From what I hear, I've listened for the last couple of minutes to the back and forth between the members of Congress, Geraldine Ferraro and the school's chancellor. But from what I hear, it is basically a done deal that if Caroline Kennedy wants this seat and she has expressed interest in it, then it is hers. I should point out, Bob, that last week I had the opportunity to sit down with her for a couple of minutes up in Harlem, and the Camelot signs are there. You know, we can talk about how private a person she is and so on, you know, running away from the media, but the signs that I saw, and this is, it may not be done, but I'm told that it's done. When she walked into this restaurant in Harlem, the crowd gave her basically a standing ovation. And then she sat down for a private event. I saw confidence. I saw that she wasn't looking to run. It had to run away from the media. It has been somewhat of a slow rollout of Caroline Kennedy, and I think her folks are taking the heat for that.
All right, there we go. Dominic Carter. When you watch that, I mean, because you know, and I know that feeling too. You see yourself on TV or whatever. Can you believe it sometimes? Do you say, my goodness, I was on Face the Nation?
See,
I mean, you can't get bigger than that.
Again, this is why I'm here, because on the program right now on BronxNet, because Gary, you're real and you get it and you understand the diversity of our great borough, because you just hit it right on the head. As I sat down in that chair to do Face the Nation, and it was a blizzard outside, snowing and highways were shut down, and I'm sitting down and I put in the earpiece because Bob Schieffer is now retired, a legend.
One of the greats.
One of the greats. And I hear in my earpiece, Dominic Carter, this is CBS News, Washington. Can you hear us? And I'm looking into the camera.
Who is this guy?
Right. And I'm like, for real, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the kid from the Bronx. Right. And you're telling me I'm about to talk to Bob Schieffer live? It's going to be broadcast all over the country and world
on Sunday morning.
On
political TV.
Right. So, but there's a lesson, Gary, to our children in this. and that is, you and I are not going to last forever. Each one
Is that
teach
true?
one.
Hey, you guys, these guys, they tell me the truth.
Each one teach one.
That's it.
What I do speaking around the country, from Idaho to Canada, I want all kids watching us right now to understand that anything is possible in life. I
Come
know.
on.
And don't
That's
ever,
it.
ever give up on your dreams. You got to work hard. You got to be dedicated.
I have this conversation all the time, and that is the fact that some people say, well, how am I going to do it? I'm not telling you it's going to be easy.
Right.
If you work at it and you're smart enough, you got to be smarter than the guy next to you or the woman next to you, of
and
course.
willing to work harder than the person next
All right,
to you.
well, I really want to talk to Dominic about, and I know you want to hear what he has to say, because we're going to undress him and tell him and get down to what he really thinks about real important issues. So we'll take a short break. We will do the buzz of the week, and the buzz of the week is policing and also, of course, the national politics with Dominic Carter. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
Hello, good people of the Bronx and beyond. Welcome to A Life in Art.
Every Monday night at 9, we talk to the borough's movers and shakers about the latest in Bronx politics, education, healthcare, arts and culture, and literally any and everything that's important to the people of the Bronx. There's a reason why Bronxites have been turning to Bronx Talk for more than 20 years, because Bronx Talk is about you and me, the people of the Bronx. So we'll see you Monday night at 9.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. Our guest is Dominic Carter, well-known political commentator. So let's get right into it. As horrible a tragedy as you could imagine, two young men, one in Louisiana and one in Minnesota, is gunned down by police. When you look at that, especially as an African-American man, do you look at that and are you able to step back, as we did on Bronx Talk this past week with with criminal justice experts who said, don't rush to judgment, let's understand what happened. But do you look at that and say, you know what, once again, enough is enough, something has gone wrong in America? What's your attitude when you see that? And then we'll go the other side with the police who got shot.
Well, Gary, I have to tell you, when I started out in journalism, I had a very bad experience. It happened in our home borough. I was assigned the Eleanor Bumpers case.
Yes.
Right here in the Bronx. African-American grandmother. Police are trying to evict her. One cop apparently falls allegedly in front of Mrs. Bumpers, and apparently she's holding a knife. The second officer fires 2 shotgun blasts. And the reason why I said it was a horrible experience, and so that's something that haunts me almost 30 years later. As a journalist, I cannot come to the story as a black man. I must come to the story as a journalist. But as a journalist who's covered this for 30 years.
Right. And you can do the list because you did Louima and Doris Mond, and certainly Diallo. You were right on the air for all of them.
All of them. And so they showed the autopsy pictures, the real photos of Mrs. Bumpers. And because the district attorney contended that she couldn't have tried to stab someone because the first shotgun blast blew off her arm. So how could she hold a knife? And I had never seen something. I was a kid that came out of the projects but went to school upstate. I had never seen anything like that before in my life. I ran into the bathroom and vomited.
Really?
Watching that. So that's the back.
All right, so I want the answer to my question.
Okay, the answer to your question is each of those shootings are highly questionable. Okay? Neither you nor I or anybody watching was there. Reasonable doubt was the officers' lives on the, did they really feel their lives were on the line? There are so many things that come into play.
So is the issue that it's, again, you hear it all the time, it's just a terrible tragedy, maybe a coincidence, more African Americans end up through the criminal justice system than others, so the percentages would be that they would be the at the end result of something like that? Or do we really have a problem with police training, police conduct, or in places like Baton Rouge, because the follow-up to that was none too pretty.
The follow-up has been horrible. The police officers from Dallas to Louisiana
so
losing their lives.
that would suggest that we have a problem. Like, how do you analyze it?
We do
have a problem. Training, police training?
You know I'm known for calling it the way I see it.
That's why I'm asking.
Society is afraid of black men. And until we're real about that, and I'm not saying that it's not legitimate, because you have to look at the crime rate in the black community. Sure. I mean, we have to be, we can't just sugarcoat this.
Right. You know what my answer to that is going to be, and I advocate, we were just talking about this very thing just beforehand, that then let's invest in the good things, let's correct public housing, let's give the kids things to do after school, and one of the next questions is going to be about a man you covered for years, and that's Rudy Giuliani. When he came up with this idea that midnight basketball doesn't work, that was a bad idea, and this is me, you could put editorial comment, that's what I think, and we have to put more resources and get those kids off the streets. And of course, I'm not even going to ask you about that. Do we have too many guns in society?
Well, let's not go to guns because we could. But if you're going to add me to your list of bad editorial, because you're 1,000% correct, Gary. You're on the front line. You're not just sitting in a cushy studio. You know the streets of New York. And how are you ever going to turn something around when you're basically making criminals? When you close community centers, or when you say, I'm not speaking as a bleeding heart liberal. I'm giving you the reality. Yeah. See, for me, how did Dominic end up from welfare to TV, from food stamps to TV? Because I had the Police Athletic League.
Oh, I was waiting for that.
There were lots of things to keep me out of trouble, so that when every kid faces, particularly kids here in the Bronx, when they face that crossroad, which way you're gonna? I got a letter just this week from a friend that's doing 25 years in prison. To be honest with you, Gary, most of my friends that I grew up with here in the Bronx are upstate in jail right now.
You know what? I think I'm going to leave and go in the bathroom and throw up after that. Listen, we could talk about this for a long time, but of course, as you know, the clock ticks when you're on TV. So I want to get to national politics. I hate to ask it this way, and you brought his name up earlier. Does Donald Trump have a chance? Now, I understand he has passionate followers, but are there enough of those passionate followers to get into the swing states and really beat? Just from purely political analysis, the Clintons know how to run a campaign. They are registering voters as we speak, whereas the Republicans are not. Does the Donald Trump appeal, is it strong enough to win a presidential election?
I have been accurate on almost all of my predictions. I predicted Bloomberg when folks thought he was a political novice and he had no chance in hell. I am telling you, Gary, Donald Trump, clown car and all, could be the next president of the United States. Wow. People that think that his campaign is a complete joke, it might be. Look at the situation, what happened with, the other day with the wife and the speech and so on, plagiarism. But there is an appeal to Trump. He knows how, I don't know if you call it playing to the worst fear. I don't know if you say, well, he's definitely played the race card. There's no, because he knows there's an appetite for that throughout. It may not play here in the Bronx, but you better believe in Wisconsin and Idaho and places like that. And some places it connects very well.
So what would turn the election in that direction or in another direction? In other words, somebody could watch that and watch what happened with his wife and with the plagiarism and say, well, how could he possibly? She clearly plagiarized from the announced enemy. Yet, I don't think his supporters care.
They don't.
They don't care.
They don't.
So what do you think is going to be the determining factor to decide which way this goes?
I really don't think anyone can accurately answer that question except to say things that happen throughout the world. The more terrorist attacks like Nice and France the other day, and of course our hearts go out to all of those people.
And even shootings in America.
And shootings in the more shooting of police officers and terrorists, that plays right into Donald Trump's hand. Because he comes across, whether it's realistic or not, he comes across as, I'm the tough John Wayne guy.
So watch the news headlines, and that'll give you a clue, because politics will be what it is and which way it's going to go. Last thing, how do people see you on TV? How do they get into what you do?
I'm glad you asked that. You can follow me, social media, Twitter, Dominic TV, Verizon Files, it's either Channel 1 or Channel 501. It's also on RNN, the same exact show. But I want to say this because I know we're short on time. I'm proud of you, brother, because, no, I really am, Gary. Here's why. You've been fighting the fight for a very long time, and you're a nice person, and you don't prejudge people.
Yeah. Well,
you judge people straight up.
I believe what you believe, and that is that everybody has a chance. Everybody can do. Yes, we can. You can add all those cliches all you want, but they're not cliches because they're actually reality. And I've been blessed, like you have been, to have this microphone and that camera lens. So if I get the chance, I'm gonna say it.
And I just love the Bronx, from Arthur Avenue to, I know we're out of time, Arthur Avenue to Orchard Beach, the whole Bronx.
Dominic Carter, and I know he's going to come back eventually when I ask him. We'll be buzzing right along. We'll see you on Bronx Talk Monday night and the Bronx Buzz on Thursday. See ya. Thank you.